Okay, so in this hopefully quick tutorial, I'm gonna show how to set up GPU based rendering, like how I discussed in class, or at least for the daytime class I talked about it. But anyway, so GPU rendering is graphics card processing for the rendering. So you'd have to open up this right here, render settings. Here we are. Close that, close that. So you got common tab, which is your basic general guidelines for what size and file output. And let's go to system. It should be currently by default set to CPU, right? If you click that, this is where you change it to a GPU. Boom. Then you have to turn this on, right? Then make sure this is highlighted. So on, highlighted, GPU, and this is pertaining to the school computers that you guys use. If you're using a computer from home, I don't know how that's gonna end up working. You'd have to have a graphics card in the first place, and some general knowledge of graphics card. Basically, like if you know what a graphics card is, and if you have one, right? Yeah. Let's say if you're a gamer, chances are you probably have a okay graphics card. Anyway, but for the school campus, pretty sure they're all updated with their drivers and GPU, like I mentioned, system tab set to GPU, check and check, or select that. Then you hit close, and then let me just bring this over. All right, so this thing is not fully rendered, and one good thing to mention, some stuff about the GPU is some minor. Well, some things are not supported. For example, like I mentioned in class, the AI shadow mat that I talked about in my tutorials, and how they're special because they offer you not only just a reflection on the floor, which any standard surface shader also offers reflection, but how the AI shadow mat provides a form of ambient fill lighting, right? Like bounce lighting. I talked about it before in several other tutorials, but regardless, god damn it, the AI shadow mat is not supported. So basically, when I say it's not supported, all the bells and whistles, such as the diffuse, right, and indirect, where it's checked on, and all this stuff, even the specular, does not work. Right? You won't get that nice ambient fill lighting. And only thing that will work is it will generate a shadow and it'll generate a color. And that's it. It's basically a standard surface shader, right? With no specular. That's basically all it is, more or less. So it kind of defeats the purpose. So so you may be wondering, so why bother mentioning the GPU? Well, for at least at the pre-production, visualization, setup to get quick and dirty renders, that's where the value is a lot. And still, it will generate fairly decent renders anyway, so that's the only trade-off. And certain types of procedural textures are not supported. which I haven't gone over. But for those of you that are kind of tech savvy or want to learn more about Maya, generally, let's see, Windows. Let me pop open right this. Yeah, hold on. Docket back in. So, from what I remember, say Arnold, its textures, most of its textures are supported. Arnold textures, okay. But from what I gather, Maya's procedural textures, right? It doesn't seem to be supported. Like, uh, um, a go-to favorite is your noise. Okay, it it seems to give me an error even right now. And what does it say? Can't really read it from here. I have my video recording panel blocking it. You guys can see it, but I cannot. I cannot see this part. Anyway, but if you see anything in here red when you press a render, that means you read it and it will probably be an error. So more or less, Maya right here, its procedurals like 2D textures, for the most part, are not supported in the GPU, from what I can gather. But Arnold's texture procedurals, they should be, you know. But I personally like Maya's procedural textures. Um, I don't know why. It's more predictable and it just makes more sense. So the procedural textures, they're great for making like bump maps, you know, stuff like that. Yeah. So that's that for your GPU. Um, but it's fast. You know, at the school campus, the GPUs they have is the 4000 series, so they're pretty darn decent. And regardless, they will render more than 3-4 times faster than a CPU. You know, and yeah. Um, oh, side note, make sure that your imagers, your denoiser is on top, always on top. I don't know why, I just remember right now. I mentioned in the tutorials, but again, I just want to mention, I think another student said yesterday about it, so it just came up. So that's pretty much it. Again, go to your render settings. Um, oh, by the way, when you do the render settings for your GPU, uh, by default it's gonna be at 3. And then you could crank it up to like 7, and it won't really increase the render times too much. Just a just a pinch more, and it'll be crisper. You know, if it looks kind of dull, right, or a little bit blurry, you could go from 3 to like 7, right? Especially if you have like bump maps and textures that have high contrast, you might want to crank this to like 7. But 3 should be generally okay. Um, and if you want to look really nice for whatever the hell reason, just crank it to 10. If you crank it to 10, it does increase the render times. It'll be more crisper. And again, this is regarding to GPU, right? Everything else is grayed out, so ignore that. Your rate depth still stay the same, okay? Only this. So baseline 3. If you want to see more crisper, crank it to 10. Between 7 and 10. Probably 7 should be good. Baseline 3 though. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So that's about it. I forgot one more thing. I was gonna mention something. That should be it, I think. Yeah. So, also, uh, with the GPU rendering, some of the colors and stuff might be slightly duller, right? It has to do with something about I forgot what the secondary ambient bounce lighting. Some parts of it just is a little bit duller, you'll see before and after. That's how you can tell. So I think that should be it. And and then you know once you're done doing like quick and dirty previs conceptual renders fast, you can just go back to system, set to CPU, turn this off. Hey, turn uncheck that. Okay, and then do a CPU rendering, right? And when you do CPU rendering, again, for crisper, you can go like 7, and then, probably 7 is good. Anything higher is going to be a lot longer. But yeah, like 3, right? So you can go back and forth. And just be mindful that it may crash here and there, right? It may or may not. So that's about it. All right, so go ahead and try with the GPU. I think you like what it'll provide for you, for initial setups, and testing stuff. All right, that's about it. Bye.